What is going on, investors? Happy Friday. Hopefully you guys have had a great happy new year and a Merry Christmas. We've skipped the last few weeks because of the holidays, but we're back. It's Friday. Let's talk about the FAANG stocks, Microsoft and Tesla. So we'll run down the news, just a little bit of news, primarily focusing on Apple and Tesla with the big news announcement that it looks like Apple is coming out with an electric car. And then finally, we'll jump over to the stock chart, see what we see here. Man, there's a lot of just great price action happening in these stocks. I think you're really going to want to stick around for that. Now, Facebook started the week at 271, ended about 267. Big news that they blocked the current president's account, President Trump's account, indefinitely, both on Facebook and Instagram. Whether or not this is a good idea, I don't know. I just tend to think this leads to more scrutiny and more regulation at some point for Facebook and these social media companies. It appears that the president is back on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, probably a secondary platform for him at the current moment. But it looks like they're going to just block President Trump his last few weeks here in office. So we'll see what materializes out of this, but it didn't do a whole lot to Facebook stock. Apple kicking the week off at about 131, and the week right at 132. But the big news, this stock is actually, if you stretch this chart out a little bit, it's actually come from like the 120 range, probably when the last time we've had a video, all the way up into the 130. So it's broken out. When we go over the stock chart, you'll see that mainly because of the news and the rumors that are swirling that Apple is big into this electric car push. It appears that they'll eventually release one. I think we're still, it appears like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 years away from Apple actually doing that, but they are gearing up. And because Apple has so much money and so much touch points with customers with the iPhone and things like that, well, guess what? People are going to really pay attention to this. So they hired an ex-Tesla executive, Stuart Bowers. They have other ex-Tesla guys running some of the things going on with their electric car thing. We'll see what happens with Apple, but this is big news, and it definitely is driving the whole EV sector. With someone like Apple getting into it, it has basically shot most of the other stocks, including Tesla, to the moon. Now, Apple and Hyundai are, in rumor to be in talks over an electric vehicle partnership, because it's believed that Apple is not going to go the Tesla route by building these big factories and gigafactories and things like that, not only here in California, but in Nevada and then in China and Germany and Texas. Tesla is really trying to be end-to-end. I think Apple, it appears, wants to be, maybe the software supplier, maybe some of the technology, the R&D, but they're going to partner, it appears at the current moment, with someone like maybe a Hyundai. I've heard NIO, I've heard even Tesla or VW, or there's just a lot. It could be that they partner with numerous manufacturers, maybe not potentially one, but it looks like here not released until 2027. The date keeps getting pushed back another year or two. I think Apple is probably still several years away from this. And in the electric vehicle space, tell you what, 4 or 5, even 6 years could be considered a lifetime. If you think about the cycle of the iPhone that's 6 or 7 years old is a comparable advice. It's something that you could certainly use, but is it as good as the iPhone 12 Pro Max? Maybe not. So Apple's still a ways away. We'll see how this materializes over the next coming weeks and months, but it certainly has given a shot in the arm to Apple shares, which we'll look at in the stock chart here in a minute. Amazon started the week at 32.50, end of the week down slightly, 31.82. A lot of these stocks, if you notice, are kind of in a holding pattern because we're only a few weeks away from earnings with these stocks. And I think they're just kind of holding steady until we hit those earnings. Not a lot of news out of Amazon. Anecdotally, I have an Amazon account where I sold, I think, about $90,000 worth of product on the platform last year. It has been on fire ever since they gave those stimulus checks, those $600 checks. If they do $2,000 checks, a ton of that money is going to flow through Amazon. I'm very bullish on Amazon no matter what happens going forward. Netflix did make some news this week, started out at 535, some key levels when we come over to the stock chart when we talk about Netflix. Man, this thing has just been so predictable. So we'll talk about that here in a second. But the news coming out of Netflix is one that you want to pay attention to. They are raising prices in the UK, up $1 on, I think, on their kind of beginning tier from $8.99 to $9.99, and their premium is going up £2 from $11.99 to $13.99. This is going to be Netflix's playbook over the next couple of years. I think they've proven that they can come out with sensational and popular content. Now it's just charging more and more, and see how far up the ladder they can go. Still, $10 a month, $13.99 for a premium subscription, way less than cable. I mean, we're talking way less than cable, so I think they still have plenty of room to run in that sense. Google starting the week at $17.50, ended a week actually up a little bit. Google's in that upper end of the range. When we get over the stock chart, you'll see what we're talking about. They've done some things over the last few weeks, but the more interesting thing, this is kind of percolating under the radar, a minority union, which means it's not the majority of employees there, formed a union at Google, and this is very rare in Silicon Valley because it's believed that they're very well taken care of. The employees tend to get lots of perks and things like that. You don't necessarily need a union, so we'll see if this materializes. Looks like it's only about 225 employees or so. We'll see if this picks up speed and gains more traction. If it does, it could lead to further cost for companies like Google going forward. We'll see though. With them having so many remote workers now and be able to hire outside of Silicon Valley, I think this is something that's not necessarily going to be a big deal for them. Now, moving on to Microsoft, started the week at $219.86, end of the week basically at the same price, $219.62. This one, again, like all these stocks, in a holding pattern. Some video game news this week. Video games are super hot, as everybody knows, but not a lot coming out of Microsoft over the last few weeks. There was that data breach that Microsoft has a little bit of a role into, but not a whole lot going on at Microsoft. Finally, Tesla. This stock has been on fire. I don't think I'm breaking any news there. Started the week at $7.26, ended the week at $880 per share. This thing has just been on a ride. It's unbelievable. It definitely feels bubblicious, but things can stay in a bubble for a very long time. Apple Car is not expected to lead to Blackberry-like flameout for Tesla. So if you recall, Apple came out with the iPhone, I think it was around 2007-ish. Okay, the Blackberry, you had the Nokia, you had some other brands that were in the marketplace, and Apple basically obliterated them. Okay, Apple was not the first to make a smartphone, but they made it better than everybody else. And so I don't necessarily think that is going to be possible in the electric car business. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I could be right, but I think Apple will be a player in the electric car market, but they're not going to be there in 3 or 4 years. And how much ground is Tesla going to pick up in that time frame? I think those are all good questions to ask yourself. Finally, the whole EV sector is just on fire. I don't need to, I'm not breaking any news there. NIO, XPeng, everybody is just, their stocks are just flying right now. Electric truck startup Rivian raises more funds. They got a $25 billion valuation. That's bigger than Delta Airlines, Tyson Foods, Equifax, and a ton of different companies out there. So they just raised a $2.5 billion round. T. Rowe Price was in it. Amazon was in it. Fidelity, BlackRock. These are the heavy hitters in terms of finance, and obviously Amazon thrown in there too. Could be that Amazon I think Amazon's probably definitely looking for more electric vehicles for their delivery. Okay, I think that's something that Amazon's going to invest heavily into. Looks like they're going the route of investing in these startup companies instead of developing the technology in-house. Probably a good idea. Needless to say, Tesla stock is on fire. Let's move on. Take a look. Facebook, starting off with Facebook. We've got the stock chart here. Boy, this thing has just waved out sideways. It is consolidating. Which way it's going to break, I don't know. I would guess it's going to break the way the market breaks with Facebook. Okay, if the market gets bearish for whatever reason, virus, corporate taxes, whatever it might be, government spending just gets everybody worried about things, it could break down. Now, it could go the other way with stimulus checks and just money flowing out of the government. It could just blow Facebook up. At some point, it's going to want to make a decision here, okay? Our key levels here are at about 283. Any break, decisive decisive break above that would start testing these times that we've kind of peaked up here. But we have a high, a lower high, a lower high. If this turns out to be high, it's another lower high. This, in my opinion, is bearish for Facebook down here at 247, 248. If you break that level, boy, it's look out below. You have a big gap here. This thing's probably coming down into the 230 range. So which way it's going to go, I don't know. Any large breakdown into the 230s, in my opinion, would create a buying opportunity for Facebook shares. Moving on to Apple. This one has broken up, and this is what we've been kind of watching for over the last few weeks here on the channel. Is we've been waiting to see what's happening with Apple. Can they break above some of these key levels that we've had marked in here? And yes, they did. And a lot of people watch the show, and sometimes I get 99% of the comments on this channel are positive, but you get these ones that, oh, technical analysis doesn't mean anything. The lines you're drawing are nothing. Well, take a look here. Here's the absolute all-time high in Apple, right at 137. Where did we peak out the other day? Right at about 137. Okay, that's what we don't draw these on here for prediction. It's more probabilities. It's giving us an idea of what's possible, not necessarily what's going to happen. I think the people that don't believe in technical analysis don't really understand it very well, so they kind of just push it to the side. But you're showing here with Apple, we made an all-time high here at a 138 back here, and boy, it touched that, and sellers stepped in. Either the computer traders or real traders stepped in, and this thing sold off, and it bounced almost down here at our 130 level, which again was kind of some resistant levels back up in here and here. So we're kind of bouncing around. It wouldn't surprise me here. Apple kind of bounces around in this range from 129 to 137. If you want to play it inside that box, you probably can. My guess is we're probably going to consolidate a little bit up there. Amazon also going straight sideways, just like Facebook. Which way is this one going to go? We have a high here, lower high here, lower high here, but we kind of came up here. So it's kind of giving us mixed pictures. Which way this one's going to break? If I were to guess, I think this one's going to break to the upside. Amazon's probably going to post a blowout quarter when they report earnings here in a couple weeks. I think that could be the catalyst to shoot this one above this. We're looking at about 360. Any decisive break above that, when we should retest these 3,400, 3,470, and potentially all the way back up here to 35, call it 3,550. So I think that's what could potentially happen with Amazon if we break down for whatever reason. The earnings are disappointing. The CapEx is too much. Any breakdown below 28.90 or so, in my opinion, creates some buying opportunity with Amazon. Moving over to Netflix, this one is done. This one, this is just as predictable as a book. Any break above 510, we'll call it. We'll just give it a nice round number. Any break above 510 kind of signals a sell with Netflix, okay? Every time it's broken above 510, now it's broken way above it. 572 is kind of our highs here, even a little bit higher than that. But this stock has gotten as high recently as about 550 up in here at the 540s. Any break above that level has, really signaled a sell. We have come back down here right at our kind of level of support, right at the 510 level. Will it hold here and then pop back up? That would be a very bullish sign for Netflix, in my opinion. Any breakdown here probably creates a buying opportunity. Anywhere between 487 and 470, in my opinion, is probably a buying opportunity if you want to get into Netflix. Moving on to Google, this one has channeled up. So this one has kind of done what Apple has done. It's kind of broken up. I mean, we had these all-time highs here, and then it just, boom, popped up. And so, it's kind of flagging up here. This is probably a fairly bullish sign. We're up here. We're just holding. It's probably waiting for some news, waiting for earnings, which should be here in the coming weeks. This one's just looking pretty good. It's just holding. Would I be a buyer up at this here? Probably not, unless I was kind of playing the momentum or something like that. I'd wait for a larger sell-off, either in the broader markets or in Google to want to step in here with any, sizable amount of shares, but this one is looking good from the shorter term perspective. Moving on to Microsoft. So this one is nearing the top of, any breakout above I would just call it 230. Any strong candle above 230, and this one will do what Google basically has done and kind of broken out above and hover over there. So that's, in my opinion, the probability of that happening, probably pretty good. Okay, any breakdown, and there's tons of stops. The bottom of our range is at that 190 range, about $20 off where the shares are. Any sell-off in the broader markets or Microsoft, in my opinion, would create a buying opportunity down there. If you want to play this one in the shorter term, you're playing it right where it's at, about 220, and you're really watching this 230 mark. If it can bust through this 230 mark, this thing should make all-time highs at some point. We'll see when that could potentially materialize. And finally, we have Tesla, which has just blown the doors off the chart. I mean, you can just take out a lot of these little trend lines we have had in here. None of them mean a whole lot when the stock is making these big monster moves. I mean, this is just a phenomenal move. I got this stock back. I was looking in my IRA account today, and I think I'm up like 90% in Tesla in just a couple weeks. It's just incredible how much this one has just moved. Okay, there's not much you can say here. It is just... I mean, there's nothing I can say here. This thing is just a runaway train. When it pulls back, which it will do, okay, it will pull back at some point. It's just proven to be a buying opportunity. You can just come out here, zoom out on Tesla. Any pullback has been a buying opportunity. I don't care if it's recently or in the past, it has proven to be a buying opportunity. When that pullback will be, where it will pull back to, is anybody's guess. It could pull back all the way back here to 509. It could just pull up here to 706. It might just keep going higher and higher and higher. This is just one of those momentum stocks where if you want to chase it, you can do that. Just understand that that is your strategy and implement a strategy based on that. If you're a buy and hold investor like I am, you bought it in this consolidation period here. I bought it in this box here, and it's busted above. If you want to be buying and holding this one, accumulating it, maybe you're like me. You've got a share or two. You kind of want to add to it, but you don't really want to overpay and watch this thing correct 30 or 40% in a week, which it has done in the past. Well, I'd wait for a consolidation pattern like this. Okay, maybe we don't sell off. Maybe we don't come from 810 down to 700 in 2 weeks. Maybe it just goes sideways up here. Okay, any sideways consolidation, any pullback, in my opinion, probably a buying opportunity for Tesla just because it's got so much momentum behind it. So many retail investors, and also you've got big, institutional investors behind this one. The ARK funds are big into Tesla, things like that. As long as they are selling and as long as they're buying, this one's probably pretty well positioned to keep continuing going up. How much higher it can go, I guess, is anybody's guess. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. We'll be back again next Friday. Thanks for everybody for watching. We'll be back again very soon. In fact, all next week with lots and lots of earnings, including all the bank stocks next week. So it should be really exciting taking a look at that. Thanks for tuning in. Good luck with your investments.